Hello YouTube, my name's Nero, and today we have some Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, another episode of Dear Nero, which is the weekly series here on my channel where subscribers send me in fan mail and or fan questions, and I do best to go ahead and answer them. This week's episode of Dear Nero is actually going up on Christmas Eve. It is December 24th of 2014, and I thought to myself, Nero, because I talk to myself in the third person, Nero, what are you going to do for your Christmas Eve episode of Dear Nero? And I thought, maybe I put something cool. I want to do maybe like Christmas style questions, right? Can't do that. That's all the stuff that you guys send in. The questions are sent in by you. I don't just make these up every week. These are all sent in by you guys. And I only got 2 Christmas themed questions this entire week. So I'm like, so I can't really do that. And then I thought to myself, snowflakes. Oh yeah, look at that there. We got snowfall right there. Look how cool is the video gonna be with snow all the time. Turns out not very. I was looking at this snow here. I'm like, well, it does look cool. That's some nice snow animation, but at the exact same time is very distracting when you're watching the gameplay. So I was planning to do this like on like a loop for the entire video where I just got snow falling the entire time. And I thought to myself, that's really distracting. And I'm not honestly a huge fan of it. So after the first cycle of it goes away, so will the snow, and then the snow's not gonna return. It's not gonna come back. So there you go. If you don't like the snow already, don't fret, it is not going to be there the entire video. It's only going to be there for a little bit longer. Just a little bit longer, so keep that in mind. So what I ended up doing for this holiday episode of Dear Nero is I put a Santa hat on Joseph Stalin in the thumbnail. That's about as good as you guys are going to get. But still, I thought it would be fun to do an episode of Dear Nero. A lot of people were wondering last week if I was going to do an episode of Dear Nero this week because it was going up on Christmas Eve. And, you know, I do these every Wednesday, and Christmas Eve falls on Wednesday. So I'm like, yeah, I'll still do it. I got a lot of stuff to do today. But I'll still make this episode of Dear Nero for you guys. Because, you know what? I like doing Dear Nero. It's fun to do every single week. You guys like to watch every single week, for crying out loud. We're over 120 episodes in and people are still watching, so I'm definitely happy to continue making these episodes for you guys. The first question comes in from a guy named Ollie, and it's actually a Christmas themed question, so it actually works out pretty well. He writes, Dear Nero, what is your favorite Christmas song? From Ollie in Hampshire. Or Hampshire. Hampshire? I don't really know how to pronounce that. Alright, so my favorite Christmas song. I'm not entirely positive I actually have a favorite Christmas song, but I can say of like all like the animations, like the little cartoons you would watch as a kid, I'd say Frosty the Snowman was by far my favorite. So, by proxy, I'm going to say Frosty the Snowman is probably my favorite Christmas song out of all of them. So yeah, Frosty the Snowman, you can't go wrong with a good old Frosty the Snowman. You really can't. He's Frosty, man. He's awesome. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, I was wondering on what your opinion is on Advanced Warfare possibly having throwback DLC like the MP5K. Julian from Virginia. Julian. Did you just call the MP5K throwback? Julian from Virginia. MP5K. What was the MP5K? That was in Modern Warfare 2, right? And the original Black Ops. That's not a throwback. If we're going to be bringing any MP5s back, we're bringing back the COD 4 MP5 because that thing was amazing. Those of you guys that played COD 4, that gun was it was one of the best guns in the game. It was fantastic, and it was because of the MP5 and how awesome it was in COD 4. That was the reason that the MP5K was so used and so loved in Modern Warfare 2. That's the reason it was so loved and used during the original Black Ops, and that's the reason why a bunch of people use the MP5 in Modern Warfare 3 was because of that COD 4 MP5. Man, that gun was just awesome. It was the best of all of them, and hopefully they bring back something like that. The idea of throwback DLC is an interesting one. I think it'd definitely be cool. I would like the entire... Well, some people really like new content in the form of new maps and things of that nature. I still think it would be really cool if we had an entire nostalgia DLC where basically all 4 maps are throwback maps, like remakes from COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3. One would assume that Sledgehammer is going to do Infinity Ward style stuff, as well as maybe bring back 2 guns from those games, like an M16 or an MP5 or an M40A3 or an M4 Carbine or Intervention from Modern Warfare 2 or anything like that. Just really very popular guns, very popular maps that people like throughout the Infinity Ward games. I think that'd be really cool to have a nostalgia DLC, but at the same time, it will probably never happen just because people always want new stuff instead of rehashing old content, which is why they give us 3 new maps mostly throughout all the map packs, and then they give us 1 remake of a map, so it kind of pleases both parties a little bit. So, but yeah, the idea of this throwback DLC, I definitely think that'd be awesome. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, what are your thoughts if Call of Duty had a class system like in Battlefield? Do you think it would be a good idea? George from Australia. So, George, you must be one tough SOB being from Australia and sending in this question. If the internet has taught me anything, it's that everything in Australia is trying to kill you. And George just fought through all that to send in this question. That's good stuff. The idea of Call of Duty having a class system like Battlefield. So, maybe some of you guys haven't played Battlefield. Let me break it down for you. In Battlefield, the class setups are teamwork based in a way. I can't really think of a better way to describe it. So let's say, for example, you wanted to use an assault rifle. You wanted to use the assault rifles. You basically have to be a medic to be able to use the assault rifles. The point of the medic is you can unlock defibrillators to revive dead teammates. You can also throw down health packs, which will regenerate the health of yourself as well as your teammates. And you got stuff like that. Let's say you want to be like a submachine gun player. You have to, if you want to be a submachine gun player and you want to use submachine guns, you have to actually go ahead and be an engineer. And the engineer whole point of them is they got repair tools to fix up friendly vehicles, and they've also, those repair tools can also hurt enemy vehicles. They also have rocket launchers and different things like that. Basically, they're all about fixing vehicles and destroying them. That is the whole point of engineers. Also get cool landmines and things of that nature. I really liked playing an engineer in Bad Company 2. That was a whole lot of fun. Was it now? Support is, I'm talking in terms of Battlefield 4, by the way. Support is basically an LMG player. So if you want to use an LMG, you have to be running support, which basically support means you throw down ammo and stuff like that for your teammates, as well as you can throw down... Oh, I'm losing my mind here. There's more to it than ammo. God, it's been a while since I played Battlefield 4, but yeah, that's a support class. Then there's the recon class, which is basically sniper rifles, and you can throw down portable spawn points, so you can basically make your own spawn points for your teammates or people in your squad, and you can also throw motion sensors and place down stationary motion sensors and things of that nature. Basically, recon. You're running reconnaissance for your team. I like the entire idea of Battlefield, but I don't think anything like that would actually work in Call of Duty, because I don't feel as though Call of Duty players are actually teamwork-based. I don't think Call of Duty itself, with how small the maps are and the fast-paced nature of the game modes and stuff, I really don't feel as though they would really end up working out that well, to be honest, within the Call of Duty thing. And then you kind of look at what Battlefield did by adding in domination, which is kind of like Battlefield's take on Call of Duty. At that point, basically everybody just ran medics. I play a ton of domination, keep in mind. Basically everybody just ran medic, so everyone's running around with assault rifles and throwing down ammo and defibbing everybody, and it's like, it's fun, but I just don't see it working in a Call of Duty sense. I really don't. That's one of the cool things, like Call of Duty and Battlefield. They're two very distinct things, and some people say, like, you can't compare the two. I still think you can compare the two in terms of, is it a fun game, is it a good game? But you can't compare them in the sense that, like, how you have to run assault rifles and all the responsibilities that come with running assault rifles in Battlefield as compared to the responsibilities of running an assault rifle on Call of Duty, right? There's a lot of responsibility being a medic in Battlefield. There's no responsibility at all for any classes in Call of Duty. That's just kind of how it is. If you're an SMG player, you're an SMG player in Call of Duty. If you're an SMG player in Battlefield, you better be throwing down landmines. You better be, look at it. You see that? You see my Humvee back here? My Humvee's about to fall apart. I'm at half health. You get your bow over here. You pull that little repair tool. You start torching that up. You make this thing better. That's how it works, right? You have a job to do. Everybody in Battlefield has a job to do, where Call of Duty is an arcade shooter. Run around, shoot them up, and have some fun. That's what Call of Duty always has been. That's what Call of Duty probably always will be. So keep that in mind. I think there's two very distinct differences between the two games, and because of that, it's fun to play both. I think, like, I play a ton of Call of Duty. You guys know that my whole channel's Call of Duty. But at the same time, I played a ton of Battlefield 4. You guys saw that. I put on my channel. I was making guides of Battlefield 4 even. I almost got to level 100 before I stopped playing. And I just played a ton of it because it's a very fun game. And they're two very distinct games while still falling under the same idea of a first-person shooter. So they're both pretty cool. So I don't think it would ever work in Call of Duty, but both Battlefield and Call of Duty are still both great games. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, and actually we got two questions about kind of the same topic here, so let's cover these. Dear Nero, I want to buy the original Borderlands. The only problem is they have a lack of an FOV slider on that game, and having a less than 80 field of view ends up making me motion sick. Should I buy it anyways and just try and deal with it, or should I pass on it? Thanks, Matt from Boston, Massachusetts. So Matt, if it makes you sick, it makes you sick. Like, I don't care how good of a game is. If a game like physically makes me ill, I'm not gonna play it. I don't know about you. That just doesn't make sense. I actually had the same idea. I actually used a bit of Borderlands 1 footage over on my Let's Play channel recently, and it was kind of messing with me a little bit too, because just the way the field of view works on PC for whatever reason, it feels weird. Borderlands 2 is fine, the pre-sequel as well. They're both fine because there's actually field of view sliders on there. You can change that and it actually feels a lot better, but the original Borderlands is like, it feels weird. It definitely feels weird. So if it makes you sick, it makes you sick. But at the same time, with like Steam sales and stuff like that going on, if you catch the original Borderlands, which I haven't been keeping track of Steam sales at all, but if you catch like the original Borderlands on sale for like $3, I think it's like $3, $5 or whatever, I think that's worth trying it. You can try it, and if it does make you sick, whatever, it is only $3 or $5, you took a risk, right? But at the same time, if it could not make you sick, then you have a really good game to play. So that is my recommendation for you, Mr. Matt from Boston, Massachusetts. And we also have another question revolving Borderlands. He writes, Dear Nero, I've never played Borderlands before, and I have no idea about the storyline. So, do you think it would be a cool experience to play the pre-sequel, Borderlands 1, then Borderlands 2? I saw this, and I think it might be cool as opposed to Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2, and the pre-sequel, the way most people play it. I just wanted your opinion. Liangston from Texas. So, I don't even know how to pronounce that. So, it's L-I-A-N-G, Liang, S-T-O-N, Stun. Liangston? I don't know. I've never seen that name before. That's a unique name you got there, Mr. Liangston from Texas. I don't know how to pronounce your name still. So the idea is, right, so you want to get all the Borderlands games. You're really going into it, aren't you? You're not even sure you like the franchise yet. Let's buy all 3. But here's how I think you should run it. If you're going from a story standpoint, like all you care about, honestly, is the story of the games, then you should probably just play them in the order that they appear in the story, not the order in which they were released. So you said you were going to do the pre-sequel first, then Borderlands 1, then Borderlands 2. That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense because the first game in the time frame of the story is Borderlands 1 first, then the pre-sequel, then Borderlands 2. That is how it all ends up working, right? That's what they call the pre-sequel. The pre-sequel is supposed to cover the events between Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2. So if you want to do them in the right order, you play the original Borderlands first, then the pre-sequel, then Borderlands 2. In terms of just playing the game, like maybe you just want to get into a Borderlands game and try it out and have some fun. Borderlands 2, in my opinion, is the best of all of them. And keep in mind, I've beaten all these games. I've beaten them a ridiculous amount of times. I've played a lot of Borderlands in my day, and Borderlands 2, in my opinion, is the best of all the Borderlands games. It is fantastic. It really kind of can fill you in on a lot of the stuff like that happened in Borderlands 1. You'll learn about a lot of that happened in Borderlands 2, but at the exact same time, perhaps after you beat Borderlands 2 3 or 4 times, and you got all your legendaries, or you're kind of tired of farming the same bosses or whatever, then go back and try Borderlands 1. It's really kind of fun, or maybe from then move on to the pre-sequel. But I really wouldn't recommend buying 3 games right out of the gate without even knowing if you'll like the franchise. That doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. So I'm just saying, if you want to play the Borderlands games and you want to experience the entire story, if you really want to start it, you have to start with the original Borderlands. You have to start with the very first one. So that is my recommendation to you, Mr. Liangston from Texas. Next question, he writes, this is a Christmas one. Dear Nero, since it's getting close to Christmas, I was wondering what is your favorite Christmas memory as a child? Keep up the fabulous work. Liam from Scotland. So we got this one all the way from Scotland. That's pretty nice. My favorite Christmas memory. I have a lot of... It's really kind of hard to pick one that really sticks out, but this is the one that sticks out the most to me, so I figured I would share the story. So basically, I grew up out... I guess we call it out in the country, I suppose, right? Like, I didn't grow up in a town or anywhere near a city. I lived, like... probably half an hour away from any kind of town or anything like that. I was just kind of out there, and right next door was my grandparents, and even a little bit further down the road was my great-grandparents. And every Christmas Eve, we would go to my great-grandmother's house. She passed away, I want to say 5 years ago or so now. Obviously, we don't go anymore, but we used to always go to her house on Christmas Eve, and that was what we did. And so we got in the car one night, and we used to go drive up the road. And then once we got there, she had kind of a big area for parking in her house, because of course we live out in the country. I remember my dad specifically started doing donuts in our car, and I'd never had that happen before, and it was really cool. Like, that was just awesome. We started doing donuts in the snow in this giant yard, and I thought that was a lot of fun. My grandparents didn't care. It was just something that was really cool that happened. I thought it was a lot of fun. That was one thing that really really sticks out in my mind as kind of like a Christmas memory. But I think overall, just the entire idea of Christmas, and like every year growing up, waking up, and there was like presents to open and stuff like that. You get all this kind of stuff. And my grandparents on my mom's side would always end up coming to my house on Christmas Day to watch us open presents a little bit, and then of course they would stay and we'd all have breakfast, and then they'd go home and get ready, because we also have like dinner at their house that night, and then my entire family shows up. I get to see all these people and just watching the Christmas Story on TV. Does anyone else do that? Is that tradition? Anyone else's family? Basically, I forget what channel, but they play the Christmas Story movie on loop throughout the entire day, like just one after another. So casually watching that while talking to people that are in your family, people you know and love. And I think the entire idea of Christmas is probably my favorite memory of Christmas. It's a fun time of year. It really is a fun time of year, except for 2 years ago, because I was very sick on Christmas 2 years ago, and that was bad. Was bad. Oh, okay, while we're talking about Christmas stories, I guess, like I said, I was sick 2 years ago for Christmas, and that was pretty awful, and I basically had to miss Christmas because of that. Growing up, I don't know how I forgot about this, my entire family got the flu for Christmas, and it was awful. I remember because I got a PlayStation 2 for Christmas that year. This is something to keep in mind that I had been wanting for like ever, because I was like growing up, it's a PlayStation 2, it's so cool, it's so much better than my PlayStation 1, I want, please. And we finally got, after several years, I finally got this PlayStation 2 for Christmas, and I didn't even end up playing with it because we were so ill. Like, we basically all crawled out of bed, got downstairs, and like my younger brother and I, like, we were younger, so we opened up our presents, and we realized we got PlayStation 2. We were so happy. We took it upstairs and put it on the floor. Didn't even hook it up. and went right back to bed. All of us did. All of us did. We were so ill. We didn't go out to my grandparents. We didn't go to my great-grandparents on Christmas Eve. We didn't do nothing. We were so sick. That was the year we missed Christmas. It was just pretty bad. But yeah, those are some Christmas memories, some Christmas stories from good old NerosCinema. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, what do you think is the most overpowered and underpowered weapons in every Call of Duty since Call of Duty 4? Sincerely, Simon from Canada. So Simon, this is a tough one, so keep in mind this may take a little bit. Call of Duty 4, most overpowered, I'd say the M16. Overall, the M16 was probably the most overpowered and least most underpowered. That's tough because, like, you think of the W1200 shotgun, that was atrocious, but can shotguns really count? In terms of, like, assault rifles, definitely the MP44 was just stupidly weak. Mini Uzi was stupidly weak as well. I'd say, just overall, I'm going to go with the question. You said most underpowered weapon. I'm going to say W1200. The thing had no range, and even if you shot somebody really close with that shotgun, you still go to get hit markers and stuff. That gun was just awful and very, very bad. But the M16 is probably the most overpowered. In Call of Duty World at War, most overpowered, most underpowered. So, obviously, the most overpowered one, probably the most overpowered gun in Call of Duty ever, was the MP40 submachine gun, and the most underpowered weapon is probably the stakeout shotgun, probably the worst shotgun in the history of Call of Duty. Modern Warfare 2, most overpowered gun. This is tough because Modern Warfare 2 was known for having everything being overpowered, and because of that, everything was technically balanced. Probably the FAMAS, honestly. Probably the FAMAS was probably the most overpowered gun in Modern Warfare 2. I'm not 100% positive on that. Most underpowered gun. Good God. I'm trying to think here. There's a lot of guns in Modern Warfare 2 that were, I don't know, kind of subpar, but none of them honestly were like the worst gun ever and just not worth using. For me, it was the Vector. That sounds weird, right? Everyone's like, "No, I love the Vector in Modern Warfare 2." For me, I hated it. I could never do well with that gun. Just couldn't. I tried. So I guess I'd give that, but that's a tough one because it's Modern Warfare 2. Every gun in that game was good. Every gun in that game was very viable. So I don't know, man. I'm just gonna throw out Vector. I really don't have a good answer for that one. The original Black Ops, most overpowered gun was obviously the FAMAS, and the most underpowered gun, I can't remember the names of them, but it's one of the 5 or 6 bottom tier submachine guns in that game, like the PM63 or all the other random submachine guns that you unlocked at later levels that were all just awful. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say those. What's the next game? Modern Warfare 3, most overpowered gun was obviously the ACR, MP7 with a close second, and most underpowered gun, probably the Dragunov, if you think about it, because it's a Dragunov, and the Dragunov is just awful, unless you're playing hardcore. If you're playing hardcore, then of course Dragunov is fine, but then again, hardcore, every gun is fine. But if you're talking like you're playing your standard core playlist, Dragunov sniper rifle, I think it was atrocious. It wasn't even a one-hit kill. It kicked like a mule. It was like, this thing sucks. It was just bad. All right, Black Ops 2, most overpowered gun. If I'm honest, it's going to be MSMC or M8A1. I really can't pick which one it is. I guess M8A1. I really don't know. It's really tough to pick between those two. Most underpowered gun in Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Good God, man. I don't know why I accepted this question. Why did I even agree to answer this question without thinking beforehand? Oh, man. I'd probably say the SMR. Now I think about it, probably the SMR, or maybe if you want to toss in something like the SVU, like the which is basically the equivalent to the M21. I'd probably say overall the SMR assault rifle was definitely like the most underused assault rifle, and probably because of that, it's probably one of the weakest ones. Just because anything that gun could do, the FAL did better, and any other assault rifle did better. So the SMR, I think, was probably the most underpowered gun in Black Ops 2. Call of Duty Ghosts, most overpowered gun. So initially, of course, it was the MSBS, but I think after that, probably the Honey Badger, just because it came with an integrated silencer. Everybody used it. It was a very powerful overall gun, although it's an Infinity War game, so most of the guns in that game are going to be overpowered, and because that everything's balanced, that's how Infinity War games always seem to work. But if I had to pick one, probably the Honey Badger, I suppose. If I had to pick a worst one from Call of Duty Ghost, definitely the CBJ, right? The CBJ MS that's got to be the worst one. It definitely has to be the worst one. I can't really think of anything that would honestly be worse than that one. And for Advanced Warfare, what is the most overpowered gun right now? I still think it's the Fall 27, and the most underpowered gun, I'd probably say the TAC-19 shotgun's pretty atrocious. Just saying, that gun's pretty atrocious. It's pretty bad. It is. It's a bad gun overall. Other than that, really a lot of the guns in Advanced Warfare really seem to, while some of them may seem kind of weak, none of them are just atrociously bad. But when you try to use, like, the TAC-19 shotgun, especially when you're just using it for the first time, that Prestige or something like that, and you have nothing unlocked for it, it's like, all right, then, this is fun. So I don't know, man. I really should have prepared a little bit more for that question, but at the same time, I still think I got some pretty good answers out for you guys. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. Of course, if you disagree with any, of course, let me know in the comments. I'm fine with all that stuff. Final two questions here. They're both going to be talking about YouTube, and I think it's kind of fun little questions here. So let's go ahead and answer these. First question, he's going to write, Dear Nero. So having a YouTube channel as a full-time job or a career is a relatively new way to make a living, obviously. People mostly think of their mom and dads as having a conventional career. Most kids are proud of what their parents do and even aspire to be this great thing that their parents are. If you ever have children, do you think this pride will continue, as I'm assuming you'll be keeping this as a career? Or, if not, will you be proud to say you're a YouTuber at that midlife marker that says you're going to be doing this forever? This person not leave his or her name. So this is an interesting one. This is definitely an interesting question. I like it. That's why I wanted to go ahead and answer it. The idea of YouTube as a career, right? So I've tried to explain to both sides of my family how YouTube works, what I do for a living. None of them get it. None of them have any idea because these people are all older. They have very conventional jobs. They don't play video games. It's very confusing to them. Last time I talked to my grandparents, they thought I made video games. They thought I was a video game designer and were trying to pitch me ideas for different video games I should be designing. I've given up. I have given up. No, it's gotten to the point where no one really asks me and I don't really talk about it. And yeah, it just works out a little bit better that way because everybody is so confused. I even try to explain it to like YouTube. Like, it's YouTube. Picture me as a radio guy. People listen to me on the radio. They listen to ads. They listen to my show. And then there you go. It's basically the equivalent of a radio or even TV. You know, you watch the commercial, same thing on YouTube. There's ads before the video, sometimes after the video, right? That's how YouTube works. And I get paid from the ads, right? That's how it works. And they still don't get it. And I'm just like, whatever, I give up. But that's how it's always been. And trying to explain to older people is really hard. But the idea of explaining it to children, they think that is awesome. Boys and girls alike, they love the idea of video games. That's really kind of the culture that our generation, or not, I guess not my generation, the generation after me, I suppose. The younger kids, they like that. They like the idea of video games. I think it would be cool. If I were a dad, which I don't ever want to be a dad. I don't, at least at this point in my life, I don't want the responsibility. I just don't want to be a father. But the idea of having kids, to go on with the question, I think the kids would love that. I think even if I a boy and a girl, I think they would both like the idea of it because as a YouTuber, I'm home all the time. I make my own hours. I can make good money, and I play video games. I play video games with them, and I can include them in it. It'd be fun. It would definitely be fun. I think I'd be like the ultimate stay-at-home dad, I suppose, while still working a full schedule. I think that would be pretty awesome. I think kids, in general, would think that'd be a cool thing. The idea of looking up to your father as a YouTuber, I don't know about that necessarily. Although you look at just on YouTube, I mean, chances are probably 90% of the people watching this video have their own aspirations of having a YouTube channel. They dream of being like the next big YouTube channel that's just going to blow up and they're going to be able to have YouTube as a full-time job and everyone's going to love them. They're going to have all the subscribers. I think a lot of people see that and perhaps kids will have the same idea, but we'll have to see. YouTube is a very young thing, like you stated in your question. YouTube is a very new thing and people have only been able to have this as a job for 5 years, I think. I'm trying to think when monetization came to YouTube. It's either 2009 or 2010, somewhere in that time frame, I believe, anyway. People really started to be able to do this as a job. And I've been doing it for 3 years now. So it is a very new thing. But yeah, we'll have to see how this goes. And hopefully, because YouTube has definitely been making a lot of strides lately, and the entire idea of YouTubers becoming more mainstream, of course, like PewDiePie being on South Park recently, and the entire idea of just YouTubers like Optic Nadeshot getting on the news every other freaking day. You know, YouTube and gaming itself is becoming more mainstream. So who knows? By the time, maybe by the time I'm 40 and actually decide maybe I do want kids or something like that, which keep in mind that's 17 years from now when I hit 40. Maybe by that point, YouTube and gaming stuff will just be so mainstream that it would just be the next thing. Like YouTube will be like saying your dad's a YouTuber and a popular YouTuber at that would be the same thing as saying my dad is a news anchor or my dad works at a TV studio or something like that. Maybe it'd be on the same level by that point. Obviously, it's nowhere close to that right now, but maybe in the future. Who knows? It's definitely an interesting path. I'm glad I'm on there because whatever happens, I'm here for the ride, and that's definitely awesome. And that leads us into our final question for this week's episode of Dear Nero. He writes, Dear Nero, was there ever a time in your life where you wanted to quit YouTube? If so, when and why? Thanks, and have a wonderful day. Andrew from Wisconsin. So Andrew, there is one time in my collective YouTube career that I decided maybe I didn't want to do YouTube. And this was, keep in mind, before NerosCinema was ever even made. So this was probably back in 2009, maybe 2010. Keep in mind, NerosCinema was made in 2011. I was working with some friends on a team channel almost. And we never actually did it because we thought like we would get monetization from it. We never thought that we'd become partnered or anything. The entire idea of the channel was we're a team, we're Team SB, and we're going to make this cool channel channel, you know, we're going to be like a community channel in a way, and we're just all going to work together on this. If we do get partnered, that would be awesome. And it ended up turning out where I was like doing all the work, and it just wasn't a whole lot of fun. Once again, I never had any aspirations of actually becoming partner. I never thought we'd be good enough to ever get signed with someone like Machinima or anything like that, which back then Machinima was the top dog. And we're like, yeah, that'll never end up happening or anything like that. And I was doing all the work, and no one was ever really contributing or anything besides me. And it's like, yeah, this isn't working out like I thought it would. I thought this would be a lot more fun than it is. I ended up actually selling my my capture card and all that stuff. And then I ended up making a channel. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna make my own channel. I'm not gonna work with other people. I'm just gonna make my own channel. I'm gonna do my own thing. And I made NerosCinema, and I bought another capture card, and here we are, like 3+ years later. And I think it's really cool to still be here. And I think in terms of, people ask us all the time, like, when do you think you'll ever quit YouTube? When do you think YouTube will be done for you? And I'm going to take the Blizzard approach on my YouTube channel. So the Blizzard approach, if you guys know, for World of Warcraft, super popular MMO, just millions of people still playing it. People have always been wondering, what are they going to do with it? The game came out in 2004. The graphics haven't really changed, except for the new player models that recently came out. The graphics haven't really changed, but they continue to just add on to it. Continue to add on to it. They just continue to make new stuff for this game that's been out for since 2004. It actually just had its 10-year anniversary. And people are always asking, what are they going to do with it? Are they ever going to make a new one or anything like that? And they said, as long as people continue to play Warcraft, there will always be Warcraft. And I think the same approach here will happen on my YouTube channel. As long as there's an audience, there will always be NerosCinema. Unless, of course, I like die or something. But there will always be NerosCinema. I'll always be here. Yeah, that's what I like about YouTube. YouTube is fun. YouTube is not a grind whatsoever. YouTube is just enjoyable. YouTube is a ton of fun. I get to interact within the gaming community every day. The community that I'm just so invested in, is the community I'm so a part of. I get to interact and be somewhat of an influential figure in that community. It's really fun. I enjoy YouTube. I enjoy gaming. I enjoy Call of Duty. I enjoy everything about my job. I enjoy it all. It's just so much. And to go from where I was when I first started my YouTube channel, of course, like every channel, you start off with 0 subscribers, then you just, you know, turn something or make something out of nothing. It's great to be along for this entire journey and see like the fruits of your labor finally beginning to sprout, and it just continues to grow, and it kind of like this whole snowball effect. And of course, getting to interact with people every single day from all around the world. Like, you just read the questions that were sent in that I actually used for this week's episode of Dear Nero. You had Andrew from Wisconsin, that's a few states away. We got Simon from Canada, that's a whole other country. We got Liam from Scotland, that's across the ocean. We got Langston from Texas, that's freaking halfway across the country. We got Boston, Massachusetts. We've got Australia, that's across the world. We got Virginia, that's actually a couple states south of me, and we got Hampshire, which I don't even know where that is. It's really cool. Like, these are all real people, and I think a lot of people kind of seem to forget that when they're on the internet, is that on the while it may just be text on a screen to you or pixels on a screen, behind those pixels is an actual person all the time. So that's an awesome thing, that I'm always interacting with these people from all around the world. And I couldn't think, honestly, of a better job or just a better way to spend my time, to be perfectly honest. I think it's freaking awesome. So as long as there is an audience, there will always be NerosCinema. Keep that in mind. And with that question, I would like to conclude this festive holiday edition of Dear Nero. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed. I had a lot of fun putting this together. I honestly thought, like, let's put the snow back up on there. I thought I was going to have this snow on there the entire video, but man, that would have been annoying. So good thing I didn't end up doing that. I hope you guys have a safe and Merry Christmas. Happy holiday to all you guys out there. I know not everybody celebrates Christmas, but happy holidays. I hope you guys all enjoy your holiday season. I really do. I hope you guys have some fun. Relax, play some video games, chat with family. Just enjoy yourself. That is what the holiday season is all about, and I hope you guys all do that. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to leave a rating. Hope you guys all have a happy holiday.